this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead, put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. And go ahead, today is going to be a shorter live. So go ahead, put your questions in as soon as you're on. If you know you have that question, put your question in the comments. Because I am going to be heading out shorter than I usually would. So just go ahead and put those questions in the comments. And then as soon as I'm finished talking about what I wanted to talk about, I'll jump straight into your questions. Now, someone convinced you to come to the United States and now you're stuck. This happens all the time. And I get individuals who need help based on a scenario like this. The reason that they're stuck or how the reason they were convinced to come to the United States, it differs. And based on the situation, based on what happens or depending on what happens, the client may or may not qualify for assistance. So that's the main goal of a consultation, is to advise the client on what steps to take next, and then also to assist them with programs or applications that they may qualify for based on that situation. So when someone convinces you to come to the United States and you're stuck, it could be anything, right? So I've seen situations where relatives, they say, come, they usually have a misunderstanding of the law, and they'll tell their relative to come to the United States, just come and stay, and they can apply for the green card while they're staying with them. And some of those are innocent, where the relative thinks they're doing something great, offering a great option to their immigrant relative to come to the US and stay with them and just apply for the green card here. And then they come and do that. They come here on their visa, they end up overstaying, and then they find out that, wait a minute, it's much more complex than just coming here to the US and applying for the green card. And some may still have options then. But the situations that I want to focus on today are situations where someone convinces you to come to the United States to find work. They lure you here to find work, or they tell you to come and they'll get married to you and they'll file your papers. And then it doesn't exactly pan out that way. Actually, it becomes a nightmare situation where you feel like you cannot escape it. Now, in situations like this, there are two options that come to mind. The first is VAWA, and the other is you may possibly be the victim of trafficking. And I want to get into how situations like this pan out into you getting a VAWA option or a possible option to get the T visa. We call it the T visa or T status. Now, the first is you have met the person that you think you're going to spend your life with, and they tell you, if you come to the US, I am going to go ahead, get married to you, and then sponsor you to get your green card. And you go ahead and you do this, right? Because you have trust for this individual. But when you come here, if they marry you, they maybe somehow they don't fulfill their promise, right? You get here, and even if they marry you, they're not filing those papers for you. You maybe find that now they're becoming emotionally or verbally abusive. They're now using your immigration status against you. They're possibly holding your papers like your passport or your identifying documentation. They control you. It can rise to the level of physical abuse, even though that does not qualify. That doesn't necessarily disqualify you if you were not physically harmed. But they are now mistreating you, and they have you here without your papers. And they were the ones in the first place that said, stay here, or come here and stay with me, live with me, we'll get married and we'll move forward. If that's the situation, just know that VAWA is an option, because if this spouse is doing this to you, that they should not be doing that. That is a form of abuse. No spouse that has your best interest in mind is going to convince you to be here, to stay, and then they end up mistreating you. Other scenarios is that they don't marry you. What if they don't marry you? They tell you that they're going to marry you, and then when you get here, they start to make you do things that you don't want to do. You live with them, and possibly they start to make you take care of their children in the household, or they make you go out and work and take a portion of your wages, or they just keep you in the house for their own benefit. And even the point where you don't want to do it anymore, but you feel stuck. You feel like you can't fight back, or you can't because maybe the person is threatening you. Maybe the person is telling you they're going to call ICE on you if you leave. That can result in a form of trafficking. Now, don't need to be married in this. If anybody does something similar to you like this, where they carry you here, and then, for example, you feel stuck, you feel like you have nobody else to depend on, and then they start to tell you that you have to do this or that to continue to get the benefits from them, like housing, and get your food for your necessities from them, get your work from them. For example, I have seen scenarios where individuals have been told that they have to have sexual intercourse with a manager at an employer to be able to continue to get the H-2B visa, or to be able to, for them to continue to sponsor them for the H-2B visa or any other immigration benefit. If this is the case and things like this are happening to you, it is a form of trafficking, and there are benefits that are available whether you are in status or not. And this is through the T status. So it can be an intimate partner, it can be an ex-intimate partner. It does not, intimate partner in the case of T status does not have to be a spouse. It could be someone who was an intimate partner, who you don't want to be with anymore, who then use your immigration status against you, or force you to stay in the situation that you don't want to be in. So, in cases like this, where people you here in the United States, and they under some promises of giving you things of value like your immigration papers, or getting work for you, or marrying you, and getting your papers. People that do this to you and then they turn around and use and abuse you, uh, it is a form of trafficking, and you can possibly get a visa, get a T status, or the VAWA if you are married to the person. Now, relatives, this also counts for relatives. If relatives do this, a parent, a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident parent, or a U.S. citizen son or daughter who's age 21 and up, and they get you here and they convince you to stay here, then they mistreat you. This could also qualify you for VAWA or the T status, just depending on what they put you through, depending on the type of relationship that you have with this individual. So, the point of this live here is to just tell you this. If someone convinces you to come to the United States or stay in the United States, if they tell you to overstay your visa because they're going to get this for you, they're going to get that for you, they're going to get your papers, they're going to marry you, they're going to find you work, and then you find out you end up in reliance to something like this. And when you stay, the same individuals end up using and abusing you, exploiting you. That's a form of labor trafficking if it's work related, or sex trafficking if they did anything involving trying to get um, sexual favors from you in exchange for what they had to give. It could be a job, it could be a housing, it could be, for example, your intimate partner that you don't want to be your intimate partner anymore, but like you have to stay, is telling you that you have no choice but to have sexual relations with them, um, despite you not wanting to. That could be a form of sex trafficking. So I want you to know that trafficking, these types of situations, trafficking situations, come in different forms. And it's trafficking is not just the one that we see in the media where somebody disappears and then ends up being chained up in a basement somewhere and is forced to work as a prostitute on the streets. That's not the only, that does happen, by the way, but it is not the only form of trafficking. Trafficking under immigration law involves someone who is forcing you by either by force, physical force, by fraud, so where they lure you here under a promise of some getting something of value, so by fraud, or coercion, where they lure you here, they make everything sound nice, make you seem like you're going to get something of your dreams or something great, something of benefit, and then when you get here they start to say things like, you still have to do this for me, and maybe I pay, yes, maybe I paid you $1,000 a week for your labor, but now I'm going to give you $400 a week and you have to take it, because if you don't take it, I'm going to go ahead and report you to ICE, or I'm going to get you deported. These are examples of forms of trafficking that do happen. And if you're in this situation, it doesn't matter whether you're in status or not, you can gain status and permanent residence through the T status or through VAWA, just depending on the type of relationship. VAWA involves a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident parent, a spouse, or a citizen son or daughter. However, if you're in in a similar situation where you're being used and abused and forced to stay in a situation you don't want to be in, but no, this is not a spouse, a parent, or a citizen son or daughter, but an acquaintance, an intimate partner who's not, you're not, may not be married to, an employer, a stranger. If it's anybody else, doesn't have to be a citizen, doesn't have to be a resident, could be another immigrant who is undocumented that's forcing you to do things like this. This can qualify you for the trafficking. So now I'm going to go ahead and quickly go through questions. So put those questions in the comments so I can address those questions ASAP. I'm scrolling through and I see one here. All right. Can you file for VAWA while living in the same house with your husband? Great question. Absolutely, you can. Now, what I do when I am applying for my clients who are in the same household, we do take extra steps to be careful. Now, my address usually serves because the USCIS wants to make sure that the individual is safe. So the attorney on record is the one that gets everything from the USCIS, gets all the correspondence, and then we work with our client to safely give them. So, for example, the work permit comes or the travel document comes, or the VAWA approval comes, we then make sure that our client can safely get that information. So we exchange that information. We don't send it to their mail. So yes, the USCIS is against the law for the USCIS to disclose any information outside of the agency, even to the spouse who's in the same house. So that means that they're not going to send mail notifying the spouse that this application is happening. It's very confidential. Go ahead, give us a call and we can assist you. All right. How would someone do a consultation in Jamaica? So we do phone and video consultation. So we call our clients if we need to do phone all around the country, and video through Zoom. So, this is technological advancement has really reduced the obstacles communication here. So it's very easy, and we not only work with, do consultations with our with individuals all around the globe and the United States. We also have our clients all around the globe. And it has not been a problem. If I got married to someone in the USA and I have a son in Jamaica who is 20 but was 19 when I got married, do I have to wait a year and a half to file for him because That's what I was told. So conditional permanent residence can still apply for the individual to get, so they can sponsor their son or daughter. However, yes, their permanent residence is ultimately going to be dependent on your removal of conditions being removed. But you, as conditional permanent resident, you can go ahead and file. Um, uh, Keep those questions coming. Now, keep in mind that the information I'm giving here is not legal advice. So this is where it's very important to get personalized legal advice. You should not be taking any actions until you do a consultation. Hi there, it's nice to see you. What is intent to deny? So the notice of intent to deny is a notice that you get if they're giving you a heads up that they plan to deny your case unless you can change their mind. So we have helped clients to turn that around to an approval, but you have to make sure you beat the deadline. They usually give 30 days. Right now, because of COVID, they add an additional 60 days to the. So get on it right away. It's urgent. It's $150 for up to an hour. Now, how do you get in touch with me? Go to the link in the profile and go to the description in the video on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch. And you'll be able to see the link to schedule your own appointment or to get in touch with us at the office. And they'll be more than happy to assist you. It's very easy to schedule the consultation. You can go ahead and do that now, and I can go ahead evaluate your situation and go ahead and assist you, represent you going forward. All right. Thanks everyone for your time. I'm going to be heading out. I will be back tomorrow at around lunchtime, so noon, to talk about a particular topic and then also to take your questions. So if you would like to go ahead and talk about your particular issue, go ahead, call the number, and I'll be more than happy to assist you with your process. So I have one more question here that I can't resist, and it's how soon after getting married can you styling? There's no rule that says you can't file right away. We file for our clients right after they've gotten married, but is it advisable for you to do that is a question, because it's going to come down to, can you create a solid application shortly after getting married? Like, say you want to file the day after, you should not be filing just bare minimum papers. You have to make sure you understand all the requirements and evidence that should be attached, especially now that they're waiving the interview. You really want to give yourself the best shot at waiving the interview by putting your best foot forward in a solid application. We can help you to do that. All right, have a good day, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.